once again. Peace, families. Professor Griffin, of course, this is On the Masses right here on Black Power Media Reloaded. Shout out to Kalanji Chaba Chenga out in the field doing what he do. All right, making it happen. And definitely shout out to you, those of y'all that are taking your time out of your day to sit with us just for a few minutes so we can dive into this subject. And the subject for today is going to be something that's in the news. I'm not sure whether or not if you are one of those individuals that sit around talking about, why isn't anyone talking about this? Well, why don't you? You could have a whole broadcast channel just with your cell phone. All right? Okay. I'm getting my number 7 on by hiding my eyes right here, put my hat down in the gym, pumping iron, throwing punches. You understand what I'm saying? And trying to get it right. All right, in the meantime, between time, all right, what I'm going to need everyone to do, if you want to participate in the songwriting workshop, please hit your brother, Professor Griff, up at, hold on, can I put the number, my number is 678-557-2919. If you want to participate in the writers workshop for writers, for poets, for artists, songwriters, singers, MCs, hit me up at 678-557-2919. Send me a text. If you missed the pop-up, the home defense pop-up, all right, yeah, there's another pop-up I'm doing this Friday. So if you want to kind of participate in the pop-up, it's going to be an online pop-up and we're going to pop up. You understand what I'm saying? We're talking everything, developing an urban tactical mindset, trigonometry, trigonology. We're going to be talking about a few things. How to fortify and secure your home, your person, lock, load and make ready. All the above. All right. Shout out to my man Malk. Really appreciate that. Delaware, my man Glaze, Philly, my soldiers that are out there. My soldiers in the gym in Charlotte, other places. Of course, Raleigh. All right. Let's dive into this subject real quick, family. Hold on for a second. Let me just change that banner underneath in case y'all would like to donate. Some people would like to. I don't know. Just checking. All right. All right. Very interesting. Very, very interesting kind of situation that's going on. And people are trying to convince me that the lynching of these two brothers, these two individuals in Mississippi, has absolutely nothing to do with the, ricochet, retaliatory events that might have taken place after this Captain Kirk thing that went down. Yeah. I'm here to ask y'all, what do y'all think? But anyway, let me do a brief check-in and see where everybody's checking in from, and then we'll dive into this thing. Brian, of course, you're coming in third, Brian, because Mrs. Moore is always on it. You understand what I'm saying? David, what's happening? Matter of fact, you're probably fifth because the Ernest Grant is on it, and Ernie can figure out why I can't call him at 12:30 today because I'm on live. And I know he's scratching his head right now. He's like, oh, man, that's right. I'm supposed to talk to Griff at 12:30. Yeah, but Ernst, I guess you can't, bro. Anyway, Antoine, MW, Katrina, Phillips, Mika. All right. Everybody that's checking in on IG, peace. Hope everyone is doing well. All right. Okay. Anyway, in the meantime, between time, let's dive into this particular subject. So, I found something that was very, very critical. Wait, you mind if let me know by a show of hands? Can I put my conspiratorial hat on real quick and then kind of take it off to dive into the subject because I don't want to forget? Is that cool with everyone? Y'all let me know because I don't want to sidetrack anyone while y'all are thinking about allowing me to do that.
I see a black pilot.
Yeah.
So that right-wing violence and white supremacy outpaced all other forms of violence in America. According to 404 Media, which is an independent news organization, they found out that the Department of Justice deleted this study, which was conducted recently, and is currently reviewing materials about this study and other similar studies on its website. But the study essentially said that right-wing violence is outpacing all other types of violence. White supremacy violence is outpacing all other types of violence. And it was a pretty important study to show that domestic terrorism and homegrown terrorism really is contributing to a lot of the violence in the United States of America. And now this Department of Justice, unsurprisingly, is actually trying to whitewash these studies from the public's purview. As always, spread the word. I'll do a full breakdown of this and more on my Substack, linked in bio, so subscribe for free and follow along, stay up to date on all the news you need to know about. I will have much more to come soon. We have some major news right now. The Department of Justice deleted a study.
All right, let me get my conspiratorial hat on. I'm going to take it off and I'm going to dive into this subject. I don't want y'all to write me off as some conspiratorial nut. All right. Notwithstanding the fact that I did write a book called Symbology, breaking down and uncovering all of those things that they said was conspiracy, but we find out that they really wasn't. And those things are in place right now that serve as the basis to some of the things that we're going through now. I called it out then. And contrary to popular belief, some of them fools on IG and TikTok and some other places that want to contend, but you don't want to show your face or accept my cash offer out of the pocket of my homeboy. You don't want to step up to the debate. Them fools know who I'm talking about. I ask you to put up $1,000 and I'll match every $1,000 you put up. All right. Come to the debate. Bring your information and I'll prove my case. You prove yours. And we'll see who walks away with the money. All right. Anyway, let me turn my hat around for the conspiratorial stuff and then I'm going to turn it back around and we can talk. So, Kash Patel, y'all know who that is, right? Let me know. FBI director, right? At the press conference, what was the last thing that he said? This is going to be real quick. It's going to take me about 45 seconds. Kash Patel said he shouted out Captain Kirk. He wished his family well, gave the blessings to his family. And Kash Patel said, I will see you where? Somebody give me this statement before I move on. Because I want to know if you want to write in the same. All right. Vahalia. Vahalya. V-A-L-H-A-L-L-A. Did you look it up? Clear vision. Did you look up what Vahalya is? Wait, put it in the chat, but let's not spill the beans just yet. So then, did you see the picture of the supposed suspect, the shooter of Captain Kirk? Did you see the picture of him in his bedroom? You see he was standing by his computer, am I correct? And what picture did he have on his computer? Wait. Before the hair started rising up on your arm and on the back of your neck, what picture did he have on the computer? What picture did he have on the computer? Come on, talk to me. We're getting our conspiratorial view of history, of recent history on. We're just kind of uncovering some things, piecing it apart, getting our Steve Coakley on. All right? You didn't see that clear vision media. Go look it up right now. Pull up the picture of the suspect. Don't want to call his name. All right? Look at the picture on his computer in his bedroom. And tell me what is it a picture of. While you're doing that, I'm going to read what Vahalya is. Vahalya is a majestic hall of Odin. All right, we have to know what Odin is. We're tying this together now. All right, in the Norse mythology, something having to do with Christ Mass, Christmas, the whole idea of dating and involved with a trans, but we're talking now. We're just conspiracy theory. All right, where warriors who died bravely in battle are brought by these particular people who are under this particular kind of, in this kind of, I don't know, would you call it organization, secret society, or whatever? They bring them there to feast and prepare for the final battle. That's just going to say that he might be meeting, is what Cash Patel is alluding to. He might be meeting someone there at this place called Valhalla. Valhalla, the majestic hall of Odin in the Norse mythology. It's the hall of the slain. Symbolizes honor, valor, and heroic afterlife for fallen soldiers. Are y'all making the connection? Help me out. Are y'all making the connection? Come on, talk to me. Someone tell me what's on the computer screen. Double B. Tell me what's on the shooter's, the suspect computer screen in his bedroom. The picture that they keep circulating. We're not talking about whether he's memorialized or none of that stuff right now. I'm asking some basic questions. Clear Vision said, wait a minute, I'm trying to find the picture. All right, I'll give you all a second. Ain't no problem. Can still trying to find the picture. All right, while y'all still trying to find the picture, let me just tell you so we can dive into the subject matter here. All right, so they had a picture of the individual standing, and the only reason why I'm not showing it, because I got a phone call from somebody that's close to me, basically said, be mindful of your words today. They're going after people, shutting people down, and, you know, closing bank accounts and all this other kind of stuff, firing people from their jobs and coming after people that even mention Captain Kirk. All right. Soleil sus. Some landmass. What do you think that landmass is? We're getting closer. Whoever Soleil sus is on it. We're getting closer. It's getting sticky. I know, Mrs. Moore. But tell me what the landmass is. We're getting close. All right. Greenland. You said it's in Greenland? All right. Thule in Greenland. And in Greenland, the place that you claim where this landmass is, do they have a place called Valhalla? And what is Valhalla in this place that you call Greenland or Thule? If you say it's in Greenland, that's cool. I have to talk in coded language, so excuse me, fam. All right, because, yeah, these people are definitely on a witch hunt. All right. Nope, Miss Moore, you're on the wrong path. Go back. Back the car up. Put it in reverse. Nope. It's a shame that we have to talk this way, but they're censoring everyone. The pagan Norse mythology, but they say, yep. Is there a place called Valhalla, the place that Cash Patel said he would see Captain Kirk? Is there a place in Greenland? And then why would he say he would see him there? He can mean that one or two ways. That Cash Patel is going to check out of here, right? And see him there because he thinks he's part of this whole idea of this majestic kind of hall of Odin in the Norse mythology. And or something is not adding up. Why would the suspect, the shooter, have that on his screen in a picture that they're widely circulating? And then why would Kash Patel mention that at the press conference? And then talk to me and tell me these things are adding up for you. Someone said it's some landmass. If I spill it, they're going to shut the channel down, and then I won't be able to come on here and speak to you unless I do Substack or Discord or some ungodly place that I got to speak to you from. Anyway, chew on that. We're going to dive back into this thing. All right, here we go. So now, if we was to go into this whole idea of what's been going on lately, then we would have to actually start dealing with this idea of the retaliatory kind of things that these people do. Now, I am pulling some information directly from Rich Ginsburg's book, 100 Years of Lynching. Do y'all have that book? 100 Years of Lynching. Can somebody give me a thumbs up? Ah, it's in New Zealand, you said. Okay. You said it's in New Zealand. I'm just making sure we make a note of that. Not me. You said it's in New Zealand. All right. Yeah, Eric. It's like they stole everything else. So we got that part. All right. We know that. Okay. Ginsburg. Richard Ginsburg. 100 Years of Lynching. So the whole idea of these two black men found hanging from trees in Mississippi. Some say it's a coincidence. Some may say, I don't know, there was no foul play. And notice how they always parade a black man out in front to give the news. All right. Is this by accident, or is this in line with the whole psychological kind of makeup of who they trained black people to listen to? Or is it a countermeasure? Because you might come along and say, well, I saw a black chief or mayor or whoever on the news, they said that it was no foul play. Then you go off running your mouth and said it was no foul play. You dismiss it, and there it is. Meeting is over. Everybody can go home. Nothing to see here, right? And we find this in a lot of these situations where they parade black people, put them in the position to use them to come speak to the masses of our people, to let them know, to quail and quiet the violence that may happen as a result of we responding to what they're doing to us and what they have been doing to black people for the last 500 years. They are good at what they do. They've always have done this. All right. This is nothing new. So we could go and we could start looking up the last time someone was lynched. And trust me, you won't be surprised. All right. You could just go right now and go to Chat GPT or wherever you want to go and just put in a prompt that asks the question, give me a list and a timeline of black people being lynched in America. And it'll start from this week, and it'll work you back to last month and the month before that. Trust me, it will. All right. Hold on. So what is the foundation of this lynching culture in America? All right.
The legal definition of lynching is when 3 or more persons, which constitute a mob, put someone to death extra legally, without court sanction, without legal sanction. And they do it for the purpose of tradition and or whatever their version of justice is. And this becomes a legal definition by the 1920s, so the NAACP and their struggle, of course, against lynching and trying to make lynching a federal crime. Lynching actually begins in the Revolutionary War years. And it's named after the brother of the man who founded Lynchburg, Virginia. And lynching took place, this is extra legal justice, in quotes, takes place during that period of time because it's not too many courts. It's sort of difficult to get to them. This is a period, the British are also in place in many places in the South, and so it becomes very dangerous to move around. And so this is a form of justice, of local justice that is not condoned by a formal court. It's interesting, it's not until 1886 that the number of black lynch victims actually exceed the number of white lynch victims. So this is an American tradition that becomes racialized later for a number of reasons. There's a constant struggle over the meaning of who deserves the protection and rights that are talked about in the U.S. Constitution. And what happens, of course, is that one of the function of a stereotype, of a racial stereotype, is to show that someone is undeserving of first-class citizenship. And until rather recently, first-class citizenship was seen not as a right, but as a privilege. And it was a privilege accorded to those with a particular character and who lived their life in a particular way and had the honor that you are talking about. This really stymied activism because in the history, African-American history, there is which still exists to some extent, a big conservative element that really says, you know, if we live our life a certain way, we're going to become first-class citizens because that's what the Constitution says, but it's a privilege, it's not a right.
In the late 19th century, an evolving scientific theory claimed that human beings could be categorized and ranked by such constructs as social standing and group affiliation.
Drawing on Charles Darwin's theory of biology that the fittest will survive, this science, called social Darwinism, perpetuated various myths about how societies evolved.
One particularly destructive myth was that Black people were inferior to white people.
And therefore, there was a justification to suppress their advancement in all areas.
All right, let me interrupt that while we kind of piece some things apart. So when you fast forward to just this week, well, I believe it was last week, and then you kind of look at their tradition. So when they say make America great again, you have to keep in mind there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to keep in mind their traditions. What are their traditions? I saw a commercial that spoke about culture, and it was asking a group of people, what is white culture? And everyone that came on, it must have been about 15 people, could not even give us an idea of what white culture is that would even advance human beings forward, if it not were the theft of African consciousness, the theft of Black consciousness. All right, the theft of consciousness, period, coming from carbon melanated and black skinned people, all right, who inhabited America thousands of years before Europeans even made it here. All right. We already had inventions. We already had thriving civilizations on the continent and in America. And we traded and we moved about and we took voyages and we were in Africa and we were in America way before anyone else. All right. So for them to come in and this whole idea of revisionist kind of history, them rewriting history. All right. If you just put their history under a microscope and look really close, they haven't really developed a culture other than a violent culture of colonization. And I'm not only talking about the scramble for Africa. I'm not talking about carving it up. I'm not only talking about the destructive G-side that they did with the Native Americans here in America, and every place they have gone and circumnavigated the globe. They've wreaked havoc, destroying, raping, robbing, and unaliving, and all this old stuff that they've done. They've continued to do this. This is their culture. This is what they do. Richard Ginsburg came along and wrote a book, 100 Years of Lynching. Isn't that enough to convince you, to get you to understand this is what these people do? Then, not only that, tell me the wars that they fought against one another. Come on, talk to me. So when you start talking about diving into what's going on now and not relating it to what these people have always done and have always been doing, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. You're not being honest with yourself. You're not giving your spirit, your mind, your brain, your peers, the people that you discuss this topic with, a fair chance at understanding who you really are and how you think. All right. This is a very touchy subject for a lot of people simply because you've interwoven your mindset and your spirit into becoming an American. You're an African American now. So you're not going to ever believe that these people are your only allies, because according to one tampon, Africa hates us. Other people hate us. No one wants to come to Black people's aid, according to you. All right. So I tried to understand this whole question when I heard it. What is white people's culture? All right. It's very, very, you may think it's surface, you may think it's childish, you may think it's a lot of things, but when you really dig deep to answer the question, I think in some cases you have to sit back in your chair and look at what these people have always done, and then vow to never be ruled by Black people ever again, because at one time Black people ruled the planet, but we ruled it in a just kind of way. All right. I'm going to dive into an article, but let me finish the other part of this, and then we'll talk in just 1 second. I'll open up the lines for us to communicate and talk.
This the society as a whole be brought down.
There had been prejudices always around color ever since, the first Africans came to the U.S., but they change. And in the late 19th century, with the advent of social Darwinism and the need to think about Black people and Black labor and Black bodies in a particular way, we begin to see this idea that blacks are actually beginning to devolve down the evolutionary scale, devolve into more primitive identities. And with primitive, of course, is lasciviousness and lack of control, lack of character, lack of honor, etc. And
So before we move forward, let me just say this. Please look up Tom Burrell's book, Brainwashed. Tom Burrell's book, Brainwash. All right? Tom Burrell's book, Brainwash. Okay.
scientists actually sought to prove these things empirically. And from there, they begin to also think about the notion of what is happening to women. The idea around women's sexuality begins to change in this period of time as well. This need for this passionless sort of idea of white women who need to maintain their purity and the purity of the race, which is one of the fears, the bugaboos that come up around interracial relationships and this charge of rape.
While there was no shortage of reasons for discrimination against Black people by white in this period, the emerging myth of the threat of the rape of a white woman by a Black man became a tense focal point, and the often false accusation of rape, the chief justification for lynching.
One person of the period to expose this destructive myth was Black journalist and anti-lynching activist Ida B. Wells.
Ida Wells was an activist, a woman who was born in Holly Springs, Mississippi in 1862. And in 1892, a very good friend of hers was actually lynched in Memphis, Tennessee, by the name of Tom Moss and two other men along with him. And what she begins to understand is that lynching is really taking on a new kind of face, quite literally, that Blacks are being victimized now in greater numbers. And the reason that is given for this rise in lynchings, which reaches a peak in 1892, is the accusation that Black men are raping white women. And she says it's new because there's no history of this in the numbers that people are professing. She knows that Thomas Moss certainly hasn't, and there's a whole history. There's a reason why he was lynched. He was actually competing successfully with another, with the white store owner. So what she does, which is really makes her so interesting, I think, an activist, is she becomes an investigative reporter. And so when she starts talking against lynching, she's just not giving an opinion. She's actually going to the sites of lynchings. She's using statistics that other people also use to disprove the idea by simply finding out instances when there was a charge of rape that often there were just consensual relationships.
All right. With that said, let's ask a couple questions. I tried to find real quick. I tried to go in the library and find Ginsburg's book to show you. It's probably upstairs. I didn't have time to get it. But this is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's book, The ISIS Papers. All right. The ISIS Papers, the keys to the colors. I'm going to stop this footage real quick. Come on. This is the ISIS Papers, the keys to the colors, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. All right. If I saw something this morning and it talked about the idea of having multiple definitions of racism. And don't listen to these people. All right. Find out a working fundamental definition of racism. And then you will know when you could take this definition, it fits all the areas of people activity, including health. And then you'll begin to kind of look at it through a lens that you would readily understand, as opposed to these definitions that they have changed over a period of time. Trust me, within the next few years, they're going to change it again. All right. Read this book, The Isis Papers, The Keys to the Colors. I'm going to give y'all a jewel in a minute. Sit tight real quick. And this is Tom Burrell's book that I mentioned. All right. Challenging the Myth of Black Inferiority. All right. Tom Burrell. And those images that you saw on hold on for a second, that you saw on the screen a few seconds ago. Tom Burrell kind of talks about these things in his book, and he lays it out rather well. And inside the middle of the book, you know, those images that you would kind of look at, all right, on how they systematically made Black people to seem and feel and convince other people that Black people were inferior. So here's the jewel that I wanted to drop on you. Write this down, take a screenshot, whatever. Mine's just kind of ripped up and tore up. If you can find this book, get a hold of this book. It's The Psychotechnology of Brainwashing. So then when you study this next to these two books, you'll at least lay a foundation, and you will get to understand and know and understand what you're hearing, the discussions on TikTok, what you're hearing on IG and some of these programs. You will shake your head and say, wow, they did a number on Black people. And it was actually systematic. And then they had some people come along and they deemed what they was giving us, they deemed it as being science. And if you can qualify it, they qualified it by quantifying it, according to them, not according to us. At the same time, simultaneously stealing through their patented, having to patent certain inventions, the patent office stealing our inventions, stealing our history, all right? Coming in the name of Black, not stepping in the name of love, coming in the name of Black, all right? Stealing our history, making you think that you don't have a culture, making you think that you don't have a history, all right? It's the psychotechnology of brainwashing, all right? So now, as we dive deeper into trying to understand how in 2025 we have two men hanging in Mississippi, and we not thinking that it is a retaliatory kind of response to what happened to Captain Kurt. Some of y'all say, well, it had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with that, because the same day, next day, why was HBCUs closing and shutting their doors and on lockdown? Because it almost seems like Captain Kurt, white shooter with a trans relationship with a MAGA family, Christian, white, gun-toting, equals Black people did it. Let's blame Black people. Let's take it out on Black people. Let's do some things that might spark a civil war. Yes, not a question. I'm going to say this 9 times by the time I end this broadcast. Not a question, but if it's going to happen, but when it's going to happen. And I'm not going to sit on here and start telling you about the classes we've been given and we're training. And I'm tired of having that discussion with you, because as many times as I've given the free class, you don't show up. All right? I say find your tribe, find those people that you're going to move with, all right, and defend yourself. All right? Because if we was to stop right now and go back to Google, ChatGPT, wherever you want to go, and look up the amount of women that have come up missing and murdered, unalive, kidnapped, Black children, all right? The numbers are staggering. But because you don't want to do the research, all right, it almost seems like on a subconscious level, you're shielding yourself with that information simply because you don't want to get riled up, or you don't want to have to kind of come to terms and come to grips and come face to face with an obvious truth. All right, that is a systematic ritual that these people are going through in order to take and spill the blood of black people, all right, in order to satisfy their bloodthirst and bloodlust, all right. And then what is wrong with you putting it under the microscope and say, okay, this might be retaliatory event that's going on. Captain Kirk, then in the same week, 2 black men being hung and lynched. Black schools, colleges got to shut the doors on lockdown. Black people getting threatened online. Why? We had absolutely nothing to do with it. But you see, they get off by blaming black people. That's their mindset. All right. It has to be somebody black somewhere in there that we can blame for something, that we can say they had everything to do with it. So then the preachers and the pastors come out from the pulpit for once in their tired lives, speaking truth about these demons and what they're doing to us. And then you got handkerchief head bootlicking Negroes, Uncle Toms and Uncle Thomasinas, coming along basically saying, well, no, he was a Christian. He was a righteous man. He was no. Put up any definition in the chat of what a Christian really is and set it next to what you think that individual was. And then you got to add the layer of the conspiratorial stuff. Then can you honestly say, what, did black people have anything? You know what I'm just now noticing? I'm just now noticing my goddamn shirt is on backwards. Why didn't y'all tell me? Y'all had me sitting up here like, damn, that's a raggedy shirt you got on, Professor Griff. Hold on, man. That's ugly. And it is, because I got to zip it from the inside. See? All right, 7. You should have said something to me. That's sad. That's really sad, y'all. That's really, really sad. You had me sitting up on here for thousands of people to see me sitting up on here with my shirt inside out. He said, I don't know. Well, we thought you dressed like that. You wearing your hat all goddamn crooked like you. Yeah. Anyway. So back to what I was saying. You even afraid to think the thought. You can't even fathom the thought of the depths of their wickedness. I believe the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that. And dared us to think the thought that these people are carrying out the same things that they've been carrying out, and they've never stopped. So then I keep hearing this comparison to Dr. Martin Luther King. One white guy started comparing what he even said to what the idea of being Christ-like is even about. Preaching love and unity and, you know, having a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, that's not what that demon was doing. No. So yeah, nah. Yeah, absolutely not. No. So I'm not going to do y'all a disservice. I'm actually going to put the invite in the chat. We could rest assured that, yeah, there were 2 individuals lynched, hung from trees in Mississippi. It shouldn't be any outrage. We shouldn't come together and show up in Mississippi on campus. We shouldn't want to talk to the black police chief or do a private investigation, put our nickels and dimes together to send a delegation or a group down there to look into it. No, I think what they're trying to do is bait us, all right, so they can establish martial law, bring the tanks and the troops in, and justify what they're trying to do in D.C., Chicago, and excuse me if I laugh when I say Memphis. I promised myself I was going to keep it together. In Memphis, They stole a goddamn truck from the tank from the National Guard in Memphis, and YNs riding down the street with the tank that they stole from the National Guard. Did y'all see that? Or am I the only one that saw that? The YNs actually stole a tank. Anyway, door of L. Not the back door, not the side door, but the door of L is in the building. What's happening?
Greetings. I put in the comments, you was mentioning Valhalla. There was an incident that took place in 1984. I put a book in there as well. It's talk about the pipe bombs and pipe dreams of terrorism. That the Valhalla can very well have to do with that, from what you was speaking of. So I did put the book name in the comments.
I'm going back to look it up now as you speak, but go on. I'm listening.
Yeah. That was an incident that I never heard about until you just mentioned Valhalla, and I started to look at and research. Well, what is the significance of that? And there was a terrorist incident that happened. It has to do with the Irish, and this boat was funneling weapons of mass destruction to Ireland. So is this a code word for some terroristic activity that could possibly pop off here,
Right. And all I tried to do is challenge people and get them out of their comfort zone, because they're sitting in front of the TV and they're listening to the Alphabet Boys, and then they're spewing this madness without doing any other research.
Yeah, that's the problem of our people. We think these things happen, without anybody's input. These people are planning strategically. Every time you fill out a survey, see, this is how they got all of the information. It's nothing but statistics. They get you to tell them, through these little programs where they ask you information, us being, open and wanting to solve problems, and they ask Black people, well, what's your problem? And we go and tell them the problems, but they go and take that information that you've given them and they rework it to work against you.
Right.
So they never really have your best interest in mind, because they're in the back end re-engineering it to actually hurt you and not to actually help you. So,
right. I wish I could have screenshot some of the people that's been coming for me. I put up this whole thing on the DARPA net. At the same time, the freckle face guy that created this thing in his garage called Face Crook, DARPANET went out. DARPANET was surveillance. DARPANET was spying. DARPANET was information gathering data, and creating a file on all of us. At the same time, the DARPANET, which was only used by the military and the CIA, DARPANET went out. Facebook came in.
Yes.
So
See, and people don't realize that Kennedy was the one who started this whole internet and grabbing all this information and using it, as far as the government is concerned, for surveillance. See, everybody Kennedy was on our side, and come on, that's just like saying Lincoln was on our side to me.
Right. So when I did that and I put it up, people started talking about the meeting that took place with all of the big wigs. I'm talking about Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and Palantir and Trump and some other people that was in the room, all in one room, having a meeting while the Captain Kirk thing was going on. That was a distraction. They had the meeting. And so some of the things that came out of the meeting, we're researching right now as we speak. But they're about to lock this thing down and put new laws in place where you can't even come and repeat what the man is saying. Did you see all the people getting fired from their jobs just repeating what he said about us?
Right. Yes, it's madness. It's madness. But what I noticed was this is blowing my mind. If you actually look at the George Wallace and the shooter who shot George Wallace, this shooter and Kirk has a lot in common with the George Wallace shooter as well. Not only did George Wallace and KK Kirk, as I call him, KK Kirk, not Cap. I don't give him the captain title. KK Kirk.
Right.
Him, Wallace and Kirk, KK Kirk, have the same, bio-segregationist, tone. Okay. Now, both of their shooters, both of them went to technical schools. Wallace's shooter was 21 years old. This guy just turned 22 in April. So the guy that shot Wallace and the guy that shot KK Kirk was pretty much the similar age. They both went to technical colleges and were both kicked. This guy got kicked out, and so did the other guy who shot Wallace. He got kicked out. So they both dropouts, basically. And they also, what stunned me more is this guy had an electrical, he was going to electrical college, the guy who shot KK Kirk, and the guy who shot Wallace was in janitorial services at an elementary school.
Right.
Now, what does janitorial services and electrical contracting are kind of similar, because a janitor can do basic electrical repair.
Yeah, basic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And the KKK Kirk guy was actually in an apprenticeship program to be an electrician. So these two people, these two gunmen, have very similar backgrounds.
Right. I mean, so much so it's almost like they're groomed, fashioned. It's almost like they were chosen. You understand what I'm saying? But listen, I have to get off here at 1. I really appreciate you as always. And to the person, Alexandria Pope, can we please stop calling our young people YNs? That's what they called themselves. I was going on what they was calling themselves as they were stealing the National Guard's tank. We don't refer to them. They came up with this term to identify themselves. But we refer to our people as gods and goddesses. You understand what I'm saying? So let me just correct that. You understand what I'm saying? So we tried to reach out to these brothers and do the work that we do in order to sit down and educate them, to raise the vibratory pitch of their thinking into the mind of God. If they want to stay in the streets and do their thing, and that's what they want to refer to themselves, then I'm making a distinction, though. That ain't us. Now, I wouldn't advise them to steal the National Guard's tank. But if they don't listen to Professor Griff and Dorvell and you, Pope, you understand what I'm saying? Then, yeah, good. Have at it. The hell. Anyway, love you to life, good bro. I got to get ready to get out of here. I got some things to do. All right, family. Right. Appreciate y'all for joining me. Thank y'all very much. Hold on for a second. Let me just get this right. All right. I don't come up with these derogatory terms for our people. As a matter of fact, the people I find online doing that, you understand what I'm saying? I check them and check them hard. You understand what I'm saying? But these Negroes actually stole a goddamn tank. And then the other Negroes, YNs, in Chicago, started talking about what kind of switches they got and taunting the National Guard and the military. I'm like, bro, don't do that. Let me just say this before I get off here, and I got 1 minute and 45 seconds. Do you realize that these people got your cell phone number? That they can program your cell phone number in to their system for a drone strike, not even air, but land drone. You know, they got Manchurian candidates out here that are triggered by certain things, that listen to rap music, and they train them to listen to drill and trap music. So come on, man. Don't put yourself in that situation. You not speaking for all of us black people. I don't know about the niggas and I don't know about the YNs. Yeah, you're not speaking for the vast majority of us. All right. Anyway, it's the 1 o'clock hour. I promised Kalanji I'd get off here. 2 men found hanging from trees in Mississippi. I say we need to get on and offline, and we need to have this discussion and figure out what our next move is going to be. Playing chess while them other people are playing checkers. We'll talk a little bit later on about it. This is your brother, Professor Griff. All right. Peace. Greetings, family. This is Professor Griff. I want to take this moment to thank everyone for supporting me in my efforts to raise the vibratory pitch of your thinking into your higher self. Thank you very much in my efforts right here on Serious Minds RNTV and Arm the Masses. All power to all the people. Thank you very much. If you would like to continue supporting, and if you are a new listener, please support by giving your donations right here on my Cash App, $ Professor Griff, and or go to www.professorgriff.me. Thank you very much. Peace. All power, all the people. Go watch a movie called The Spook Who Sat by the Door. The Spook Who Sat by the Door. Take my phone number, 678-557-2919. If you want to get down for the get down, you got my number. Call me. Check the movie out first. You can call me. Matter of fact, y'all could do it too. The Spook Who Sat by the Door, Sam Greenlee. All right, check the movie out. Hit me up. 678-557-2919. Peace, fam. All right, everyone on IG, y'all take care of yourself. I'm going to see y'all. All right, we're doing a pop-up on Friday. All right. Y'all get the flyer. I'll put it up on IG. We can kind of make it happen. All right. But just kind of stay tuned. All right. We'll talk. All right. Peace. Hold on.